If you've ever been in therapy for social anxiety, you've probably been asked to challenge your thoughts or question why your anxiety exists. That question is the foundation of almost every cognitive technique built around social anxiety, and it is built on the wrong assumption. The assumption is that what you're afraid of is happening right now, that social anxiety is a fear of the person in front of you to the situation you're in, but it isn't. Social anxiety is not a fear of present social situations. It is a fear of reliving past social rejection and humiliation. And in this video, I'm going to show you the exact mechanism that makes one look like the other. Hi everyone, my name is Blake and I run socialanxietyhaven.com. When I was 19, I had severe social anxiety. And what I eventually did with that experience wasn't write a self-help book or grow a massive following. I reverse engineered my own recovery and built a clinical model from it. If you ever tried to reason your way through social anxiety and it didn't work, I want to be direct with you. That's not a failure of effort or commitment. The technique you applied was applied to the wrong target. The fear was never about what you were being asked to examine. By the end of this video, you'll have a precise answer to a question I don't think you've ever been asked. Is this even about now? The standard account of social anxiety describes it as a fear of social situations, fear of being evaluated, fear of embarrassment, fear of negative judgment. And that description is accurate as far as it goes, but it misses something critical about where the fear actually originates. The fear doesn't begin when something threatening happens in the present moment. It begins in your memory, not based on what's actually in front of you. The person you talk to doesn't generate the fear behind social anxiety. They activate it in your memory. For example, let's say that you were about to talk to someone in a romantic way. Before the social interaction ever begins, you start to get anxious. You worry that the person you talk to will reject you. You begin to remember a time when you were younger, when you were yourself around someone else, and they rejected you for being who you are. And you attribute that memory as a possibility to being re-experienced in the present moment. Because of this, you approach the situation with fear, not because the person themselves is frightening, but because of the situation they are producing inside of you. They can make you re-experience the same feeling of rejection you felt all those years ago, and that to you is reason to be afraid. What this story communicates is a profound misconception about social anxiety. Social anxiety is not a fear of present moment social interaction. It is a fear that past negative social interactions are likely to reoccur. And it is this memory-driven fear response that activates your nervous system in real time. So the real question becomes, if your memory is driving your fear, what is causing it to act this way? To answer that, you need to understand something fundamental about how emotional memory retrieves itself. Most people think of remembering as a single process. You search for something, you find it, it comes back. But memory retrieval is not actually one process. It's at least two, and the difference between them is what this entire mechanism depends on. Generative retrieval is one way that memory is retrieved. It is slow and effortful. Your working mind sets a queue, searches the knowledge base of memories to choose from, verifies what it can find, and constructs a memory. Your memory, in this sense, is being constructed to fit the narrative you already have about yourself. It's not being retrieved neutrally, it's actively being constructed as you pull it back from your memory. If you believe that you are socially incapable, for example, your mind will generate memories from the past that fit that narrative, a time when you felt out of control, where other people made you feel badly about yourself. Direct retrieval is another way that memory is pulled back. When memories have been consistently paired to your goals, a stable pattern of activation within the mind forms in the memory system and delivers a memory without the search process ever taking place. In other words, your mind isn't constructing or searching for memories anymore. It is unconsciously pairing them to your self-perception. The researcher who developed this framework, Martin Conway, is explicit that this process of retrieving memories is so fast and instantaneous that the part of your mind that would normally regulate and contextualize the memory, the part that would tell you that it was just in the past, operates only after the memory has already arrived, not before. What this basically means in simple terms is that if a memory gets paired over time to a goal that you have set in your mind, it will arrive before you even have the chance to regulate against it. This matters in social anxiety for a very simple reason. Let's say that you're going into a social situation and think to yourself, I want to make sure I don't get humiliated or embarrassed. Your goal in this sense is to avoid rejection. Immediately after setting this goal, your mind will retrieve memories of social rejection to contextualize this goal in your internal narrative. It will bring up a memory where you were humiliated when you were younger. It will bring up an instance where you were rejected. The mind's goal in this sense isn't to make you socially anxious. It's to give you the context from which you can understand the situation at hand. In Conway's direct retrieval model, something slightly different actually happens. Instead of the brain retrieving that memory from the context of the situation, it directly retrieves the memory from the information within the memory itself. So instead of your brain saying, here's the social situation, what memories do I have to contextualize it? It says something more along the line, here's the memory I have. What situations in the present moment match what this memory is saying? In other words, your mind arrives at the situation from the memories you have in storage. And for most people with social anxiety, those memories are negative, traumatic experiences of social rejection. So if someone with social anxiety is filled with all of these negative, traumatic memories, what does the mind do to cope with this reality? It does the only thing that it can. It locates the fear those memories elicit in the present moment. Instead of someone with social anxiety saying, these memories are activating my fear response, and it is my memory system that is making me afraid, they are likely to say, the threat I am feeling is real, and it is a representation of how other people are actually perceiving me in real time. Instead of them locating the fear they are experiencing in the past, they are likely to relocate it in the present moment, saying that other people are judging them, or that they are being watched. The reason this is happening on a neurological level is because the brain's threat detection system operates on similarity. When a current social situation resembles a stored pattern found in that memory system, the full emotional signature of that original event gets retrieved and experienced as present tense data, not as a memory of something that happened in the past. The person you're talking to didn't actually produce the fear. They were the cue that triggered the retrieval. What the fear actually is reading is the archived memory itself. And this reframed position changes how we think about cognitive behavioral therapy as a whole. Cognitive behavioral therapy is built on what is known as cognitive restructuring. And cognitive restructuring, or challenging negative thoughts and replacing them with more rational thoughts, is built on the assumption that the fear we are experiencing is generated by a current appraisal. That's a reasonable intervention if the assumption holds, but it doesn't hold here. As we previously established, the fear that you are experiencing is not a fear that is actually happening in the present moment. It is a fear that is generated and maintained by past experiences of social rejection. So if this is the case, the intervention CBT proposes should not be about questioning the validity of our negative thoughts. It should be about questioning whether our thoughts are a representation of the present moment, not the past. For example, we shouldn't be asking ourselves if our thoughts are true. We should be asking if they are even happening in the present moment. Instead of asking, is this true? A better question might be, is this even about now? And for someone with social anxiety, the answer is almost never yes. So here's what this video establishes. Social anxiety is not a fear of the present. It is a fear of reliving something that already happened. The alarm gets read as a past event, delivers its signal through a retrieval process that bypasses contextual tagging, and arrives as information about the person you're currently facing. By the time this information starts, the alarm is already run, and you have no mechanism for knowing that what was just fired was a memory. This is why the question in cognitive behavioral therapy of, is this true, keeps failing. You're being asked to argue with something that is coming from the past. The layer this video doesn't cover is what has to happen at the memory level itself. That is not something that I cover on YouTube. It is something that's found in the newsletter for this channel, and the link is in the description below. If this is the first video of mine you've seen, consider subscribing. There's a full sequence building this model from the ground up, and this one sits in the middle of it. And if you want to understand what the brain develops to manage this alarm system once it becomes chronic, that video is the next one to watch. I'll link it down below. So thank you everybody for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.